A viewer recently suggested that I make a video about my poker journey during 2020, during the pandemic. So I always say, if you want to see a video made, let me know what the topic is and I'll make it if I think I can. And I think I can make a video out of this. Law school was ending for me in 2020. That was my final semester, finals to be done in April 2020. My plan was to move to WinStar. There is an apartment in Oklahoma, like a mile from the casino. Not so easy to get an apartment there because a lot of employees live there, but there's also like 10 miles down the interstate or so across the border in Texas, an apartment building. I was going to move to one of those two, just play WinStar. Now very glad that didn't happen because probably only be able to take it about a year before seeing the exact same people and chairs and chips and everything non-stop every day. So that was my plan. Corona messed that up. So in January, February, March, I was playing in Council Bluffs. It was one of my lightest semesters in terms of credit hours. I got some like 40, 50-hour weekends in Council Bluffs in January, February. So I was playing live. I actually planned for spring break in March to go down to WinStar. And I had played 26 days in a row in summer 2019, so I really enjoyed it. My plan was to go down for spring break. Right before spring break, things started closing. So campus closed. We were gonna have classes remotely, but the entire country had not closed yet. So my plan was to just go down to WinStar and just live in a motel and just like be in the casino nonstop. Go off to the side, take a Zoom call for class, and then go back to the tables and do that. So I went down for spring break, and I think it was the third day I was playing, like the whole country started shutting down. So day 4, I drove back to Nebraska. That didn't happen. And then I had to think about what I was doing with everything shut down. So I didn't think it would be as severe and as long as it was. So my plan was to go back to my parents' house in New York for like a month or so, and then go somewhere for poker. So it lasted a little longer than that. I was back very close to like May 1st, and I didn't go down to Baltimore for poker until September 2nd. Maryland Live did open in July. I wasn't a fan of playing, like, some places were 4-handed, some places were like 5. I don't remember what Maryland Live was instantly. I went down there once Maryland Live was 7-handed. We had face masks, we had plexiglass. Horseshoe Baltimore was 8-handed, which was like normal. 8-handed in Baltimore, you probably have more people at the table than 9-handed in Vegas, because people in Vegas love getting up and taking like really long breaks and just disappearing. So 8-handed and 7-handed in Northern Maryland was fine. Before that happened, I was playing on Ignition. I did play a little cash at first, didn't love that. That was pretty boring. I started playing double or nothing, 6 max sit and goes, and I don't remember the buy-in. 10? Definitely wasn't 20. Like, that wasn't the norm. I think the norm was 10 with like a bunch of 5s, very occasional 20s, but that was like not a lot of money. A very good night of like 6 hours of play was like making $25. Like, and plenty of times things didn't go well, plenty of times I didn't play well. It was like a new form of poker. I was getting better, but there's a lot that goes into double or nothing sit and goes that you don't see in full ring cash games. So there was a lot I was learning, and it wasn't like a huge edge that I had. And even if things went magnificently in one night, like you made $25. It was kind of depressing after a while. But it was good mentally. It was a lot more valuable in terms of mentality and practice. Like, there was a new game I had to think about rather than just kind of going on autopilot and like 1-3 full ring cash games. So even though there wasn't a ton of money, which I did, you know, get on and get off without problem, I was keeping myself keeping myself limber poker wise. So that was good. It was better than not doing anything poker related. I mean, there was no way to do something April, May, or June in the Northeast. I think Maryland Live was the first place to open, and it was mid-July, and I didn't get down there until early September. But once I went down to Northern Maryland, that's where living like this really started. So I had a mix of red roof occasionally, mostly Airbnbs. There was one Airbnb I really liked. It was a modern townhouse. It was a mile from Maryland Live, and Maryland Live is like 10 miles from the Horseshoe Baltimore, so it was very convenient. It was a good price, and that's when I started living like this. This was an important time for me for discovering this lifestyle, and also from an investment perspective. So I had been holding on to a lot of cash in order to get the apartment near WinStar. That was my plan. And without an on-the-books job, your way of getting an apartment is to just show the landlord that you have enough money to pay rent for like a year or 2 years, something like that. So I was holding on to a lot of cash for that. And then once I started living in mostly Airbnb and occasional red roof, I didn't need any of that. It's like pay as you go, and I never need to show someone how much money I have and like prove that I'll be able to pay the rent. You prove it by paying for the room rate. So I was able to put a lot more money into my portfolio. I didn't need nearly as much cash on hand in my checking account. I also enjoyed how much I could move cities, how easy that was. So Atlantic City didn't open for a while. I did play Atlantic City for like a couple days on the way back around Thanksgiving. I did play like 85 days in a row. I'll put some stats up on the screen. I know I played from September 2nd, that was the first day, through some day in November, and then on the way back I played briefly in Atlantic City, but I knew I could go to Atlantic City and back whenever I wanted. And in January 2021, that's what I did. I started in AC, because it was, you know, on the way down between New York and Maryland. Started in AC, then went to Maryland. I wanted to just watch the Super Bowl. I've watched it at the poker table. I wanted to watch it that year just by myself in my room. So for 5 days I went back to AC, Sunday through Thursday, very cheap, you know, like what I do in Vegas, also the cheapest part of the week in Atlantic City. So for the Super Bowl day and the following 4 days, I had a room at Harrah's, and it was like just so easy, like New York, Atlantic City, Maryland, to change cities like that. And then in February 2021, I felt like I had just kind of exhausted Northern Maryland. I wasn't liking Maryland Live so much, and the Horseshoe Baltimore is awesome, but fewer tables, fewer people, so you see the same people all the time. So they didn't know me at first, and it was easy to make tons of money off of them, and then they got to know me, and I know how to adjust to people like that, but it's just a better money-making proposition to change cities if it's very easy and convenient for you to change cities. So it was for me. So after mid-February, I left Northern Maryland and eventually made it to Oklahoma in April 2021. And we're kind of getting out of 2020 now, so kind of end the story there. So that was the beginning of 2020 through spring 2021, my poker journey through the pandemic.
Yeah, I got it at the stadium in May.